Hey, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and today's podcast interview is with Blackjack Apprenticeship members Ltrain and Pocketqueens, a husband and wife card counting team who have netted over $100,000 since attending a boot camp just over a year ago. You're going to hear both the ups and the downs of their first year of play, as well as how a crazy lucky situation got them back in the game after some initial really awful luck. Now, I know it's been said that it takes some luck to make it as an advantage player. I wouldn't go that far. For example, BJA Pro SD1 had to grind through a nearly 200-hour losing streak to start out his career, but other times, some early luck can get an AP's career on the fast track. This podcast has probably the craziest story I've heard of just when they thought they were out, something happened that pulled them right back in. So while one lucky event gave Ltrain and Pocketqueens a big boost that you're going to hear about, you'll also realize through the rest of the podcast that their success has come from good old-fashioned dedication, hard work, and resilience. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I'm here with Ltrain and Pocketqueens. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's good to see some people face to face without masks on. Don't tell anyone. So, not to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it. You guys are married AP couple, correct?
Correct.
And we want to just kind of get into your story a bit and tell kind of how you got into it, some of the success you guys have had over the last year, and then I got a whole bunch of questions from members for you guys. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, let's start at the beginning with how you guys, this is Nubs 1981 says, how'd you guys get started and who talked who into advantage play?
Shout out to Nubs 1981. I'll probably say a lot of shout outs today.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about this a few days ago. We couldn't really figure it out, like how we together got at a table. But I guess as far as like how we started, a couple years ago, it was lovely martingale, progression to depression type of play. And then we went bust on that. Well, it worked until it didn't work.
Yeah.
Then we went bust on that. And then it was, hey, look, we should start counting. And we got a book called Modern Day, I think it was Modern Day Counting or Modern Day Card Counting. Not your book, obviously, it wasn't out yet. And that had a count that was it was an unbalanced count. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a mix between Red 7 and Zen.
Okay.
So I think 2s and 7s were +1, and 3 through 6 were +2.
Uh-huh.
Aces were -1, and then faces were -2.
Okay.
So we kind of like dumbed that down and we halved everything to try to make it easier.
Sure.
The other thing that we did, which was really kind of crazy, is we got on Amazon and picked up like this little ticker.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like a little remote ticker.
Uh-huh.
And we had to be careful because if you clicked it while it was on, it would play a sound. So we had to like put it in silent mode. And we'd go in, and I had a hoodie. I always wore a hoodie. It was like a zip-up hoodie.
Uh-huh.
And I cut holes in the pocket so that you could see, like if you look down, you could see the count. And so we kind of did that for, we did it for months.
Do you think you were accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were accurate, but I mean, it was lazy because all we really needed to do was just practice, and we would have been able to keep the running count on our own. But we wanted to be accurate. That was the thing. We thought that if we were really accurate, that, you know, you yield more money and all of a sudden you're a millionaire.
I mean, at this point, I'm standing back. I'm just watching.
Okay.
Because I definitely wasn't, there was no way for me to hide
really
this
know
device.
What the count was.
Yeah. Plus people talked to me a lot, and he was able to
yeah.
lower his hat and then look down, and I was kind of like watching to see if anybody was watching him. So I kind of like took a back seat to this whole ticker situation.
Yeah.
Because it was scary, because I know that would make it illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they could say you're using a device and we're going to arrest you, and then you got to fight it.
Yeah.
Which could be difficult to win that because you're not allowed to use a device. That's why we worked with some guys early on and they would use, I've probably said this before, but they used kind of like walkie-talkie things just to alert the BP to their table, you know. But even if you got caught with walkie-talkies in a casino that, you know, that are on in your pockets and you're, you know, doing that stuff, it just felt too risky. So we wouldn't do that. But did you guys, I mean, did it work? Were you guys positive EV?
So we actually did have some success with it. The downfall that we had with using this count and this method was I was horrible at bankroll management.
Okay.
So I was overestimating my edge and overbetting, which led to we had a stint where we made a pretty decent amount of money, but at the same time we took a horrible downswing. Yeah. And that was a bad crash. And then it was a matter, like, in my head I was always like, you're using the wrong count, or you know what I mean? Instead of thinking to manage the bankroll better. Oh yeah. I was using the method of the count. And so then we kind of switched to a different count. Then we just went to red 7. It was still an unbalanced count. The reason why we stuck with unbalanced is because deck estimation, like, absolutely terrified me. Oh yeah. It's like, you know, I'm not going to be accurate with it. Oh, okay. It's going to totally eliminate the edge. The edge is so small anyway. Like, it's got to be perfect.
Yeah. I think that's a mistake. People think deck estimation is as important as basic strategy and counting and bankroll management. And it's not. Like, if you're off even 20, 30 cards, you know, it's not like, oh, there goes your advantage, you know, whereas if you're over betting or off on your count, yeah, there goes your advantage. But yeah, so I understand that. A lot of people are really terrified about deck estimation.
Yeah. So played the whole red 7 count for a little bit, had a little bit of success with that. And then just by chance, we bumped into another AP at a table. And that kind of like changed everything from there moving forward.
So who kind of breached card counting with who? Did you say something to them, or did they say something to you?
I guess you should, because you have more contact with you're talking about the AP? Or
the AP.
Yeah. You have more of a conversation with this particular person. I mean, I guess we could say who it is because it's been out there. It was Sassy Red.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, we were at a table and it was like, I think it was just us 3 and I was in between you guys. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but you end up leaving the table. But during when we were all 3 sitting there playing, she was just like pulling out.
She was getting crushed.
She was getting crushed. No. And I'm like, what? She's got this like Mary Poppins bag that she's just like pulling out all this money. I'm like, who is this lady? What is going on?
Yeah.
And
it was crazy for me because as the advantage grew, she would spread the 2 hands. And like she, at one point in time, she actually like looked over and apologized. She was like, I'm sorry, but the variance on this game is just too crazy. And I was like, what? I've been reading about this. What? Who says? No one says variance at the table. You know, so in my head, I was like, something's going on. Like, we need to talk to this person. And then
he walked away, walked out, went somewhere to the restroom or something. And then I started to get up and walk away. And then she came and found me. And then she wanted to go talk to me outside. So then we went outside and we started to chat. And then she says, I know that your husband is an AP player, but he has some holes in his game. Oh. So I'd like to talk to him. So then I called him.
That's so funny. I always hear her saying, you got potential, but you got some holes in your game. In the back of my head, like whenever some things were going on, just because that was like one thing that she pointed out. And she was like, you know, like, what are you doing with your count? I noticed that you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. You should look into this and this. And then we started talking about BJA. The crazy thing about all of this is that even throughout the time where I was using Red 7, I still had a BJA membership.
Oh, wow.
So I had all the tools. Yeah. I had all the videos. I had everything in front of me where we could have been, you know, really generating some positive EV. And I was just lazy. It's really what it came down to. I was lazy, and I was also faithful to trying to actually make an unbalanced count work.
And there's nothing wrong with an unbalanced count. If you're perfect with it and everything else, it depends on which count. You know, some are weaker than others, but you know, we've just chosen to go the high-low route because that's what worked for us, and that's every major team, and for whatever reason, and so that's what all our resources are for. And, you know, if it's unbalanced count, you got to find a way to make sure everything's perfect.
Yeah.
From the count to the betting to the deviations. You got to make sure it's perfect.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think if there was anything that I would say that I would do all over again, when it came down to that, was buy CVCX early, really lock into understanding risk of ruin, understanding Kelly criterion, not over betting. Those are things that really hurt us. Like, we could have made unbalanced counts work for sure. Like you said, like, they still have advantage and they all correlate. But because of, you know, bad decisions, things didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
But after we met her and we talked to her, you know, she served as just like a phenomenal mentor. And fortunately, shout out to Sassy Red, she was willing to like talk to us and help us throughout the process.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And so since you already had a forum membership, you just connect through that or exchange phone numbers? Or
Right. Yeah. I think if it weren't for that, you know, I don't think she would have been apt to talking to us. Like, I don't think that people should think that you can just approach an AP at a table and then all of a sudden they're going to take you underneath their wing.
Yeah. But I think there is a desire to help people out.
Yeah.
I mentioned before, the first like serious pro I met was a guy from, oh man, I don't think I'm supposed to say their name, but this large team that we had a ton of respect for, and he was like offering me advice in the bathroom of the casino, you know, saying, hey, here, you guys are really good, but here's some things. And he didn't need to do that, but I think there's just a desire to pay it forward or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the same feeling about it, but I don't think we're ready for that yet.
So you guys get some good intel. Do you switch to high-low at that point?
Switch to high-low. So at that point, I was like, you know what? We're done. I'm done being lazy. I watched all the videos again, started practicing on the training suite. We started practicing at home. I would deal to her. She would deal to me.
Side note, the ticker's gone.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's been gone.
Good to know.
I don't know when we dropped that.
Funny.
Well, you went to the other.
Yeah, we used the ticker, and then we also used a rosary ring, which is It was like a ring that rotated. So and it had, for every decade or every Hail Mary, it had a notch, and so you could kind of keep a running count with it. Like now, I guess now I think about it, if I ever wanted to count down 2 tables, you could use a ring for that, and then whatever. So the ticker's gone. Switched to high-low. Started practicing like crazy. Yeah. Went to a boot camp in November.
November of 2019. So where are we at? We're in December. So just over a year ago.
Yep.
And that's where I met you guys.
Right. Awesome boot camp. Awesome party. It was nice to meet all the pros. Got some good advice. Really spent a lot of time analyzing risk and trying to figure out how to work with the bankroll. Like, I had a lot of questions on when to downsize a bankroll just to make sure that we didn't go bust on a bankroll.
And where was your total results at this point? You know, positive, negative, even?
That's a good question. I mean, I think still we were probably break even at that point. And then we took a downswing late December.
Right after the boot camp.
Right after the boot camp. Late December, early January. And then kind of reassessed and then started progressing up more. And that led us into everything that's happened this year.
Yeah. Well, so were you, the next question is, did you mostly play separately or employ like team play or just one of you playing?
We would occasionally play separately, but most of the time it was me at a table, her with me. Whenever it came down to a point where it was time to spread to 2 hands, she would play, and we would try to match our bets. Sometimes we would vary the bets.
Sure, a little bit.
Just to not be so obvious. But that's how we've done a lot of stuff. I mean, this year was a lot of me playing strictly, her spending a lot of time talking to dealers and talking to pit bosses, kind of working the crowd a little bit. and still her playing too. So I mean, we've used a variety of different methods, I guess you could say.
I think it's just tougher because as the more we go, like locally, if we go locally more, that people get to know you and they want to talk. And women want to talk and talk and talk. Not that I do, but they want to talk. So once they come up to the table and we're both there, I usually just kind of hang out for a while because you know the ones that are going to be talkers, and then I'll kind of distract them so that he doesn't have to have this engagement with him. Because initially it was really tough in the beginning to talk and talk and talk.
Yeah.
I'm the pit boss, everyone's talking. So I kind of was the distractor initially.
Yep.
And then I started to play more and get better at talking and playing because that's, I think, my weakness.
Okay. So do you guys play it all separately?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Most of the time we do.
Now it's we're both at a point with our game to where we can play at separate tables. We can go in together. We're comfortable going in together, but we can play at separate tables.
That's great.
Still generate some EV.
That's great. So do you guys, this is from Buck Nasty. He says, do you hide the fact that, do you guys hide the fact that you're married or try to use it as any sort of cover? It sounds like it works just saying or being together.
Most of the time we do, unless we know that it was like I think that one time we went in, they were like, we're going to go in separate.
Oh, yeah.
You dropped me off.
Yeah.
So, like, if it was sweaty, we're not going in together to this one. Especially if we had been there, like, a couple weeks before and it kind of felt like there was some heat. We won't go back in together. Because it's hard. Us together, you can't really disguise, so... Yeah. Right?
Yeah. No, you're right. That's... Most of the time, we've never had to... There's been that one time that we've had to hide the fact that we were married. Any other time, we're okay with it. And playing locally, especially at one particular shop where we spent a lot of time locally, they knew us so well. As like they knew about our kids, they knew about other stuff and with our personal life. There's no way we'd be able to hide it.
I feel like, it worked well for my wife and I, either when I was playing and she would work the crowd, so to speak, take some attention off of me and all that stuff. Or when we used Gorilla BP, she could play and have conversation so I could focus on counting and deviation decisions really quickly and all that stuff. I could talk a little bit if I needed to, but then she's this personable, person counting or playing, just gambling or whatever. So I think there's definitely something to that. But I think it's great that you guys can also split up, play separate casinos or separate tables or whatever, even to just, back count a table while the other person's playing.
I think the last thing you just brought up, that's a good point. She's awesome at that. That's been a huge benefit. Like if I need to go to the bathroom or need to just move away from a table, she can keep the count. If we want to pass the count to each other, we could do that if we need to. Initially, I guess your book actually helped us out a lot with your conversations about how you and Grace actually approach certain things. Because it was tough. Like there were a few times where if she were playing with me, and this is kind of before we were better at our game, it was really hard for me to keep the count, try to tell her when to deviate, and like be able to communicate those things. And like when I actually read that in your book, I was like, dang.
Yeah, it's hard.
Someone else understands.
It's the hardest card keg I've ever done.
I was being so hard on myself. I was like, you got to figure out how to actually do that. You have to figure out how to communicate with her. You have to be better at this.
Yeah.
And, just reading what you had to say like really helped us out.
I think it's easier not to play together in those moments because then I feel like I'm just frustrating him and slowing down his game. And I think it's just...
We made it work. Brought us together.
So do you guys mostly play rated or unrated?
It's been
this is CD Mac is asking this. CD Mac.
Thanks for the question. It's been a little mix of both. So locally, well, I guess this is the reason why we had a back off. We had a big back off, and that got out to multiple casinos. So that kind of changed everything. So we went from an optimized approach to a maximized approach. So now we're not really playing rated.
Yeah.
Where before we spent a lot of time playing rated. And that was a huge benefit for us because it turned into a lot of comps. We were able to get in good hours. We were able to, free meals, gifts.
I mean, we're still benefiting from it. We just can't play there.
Yeah. So. Can't play blackjack at least.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so you took a downswing after the boot camp.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
Then the blackjack gods smiled on us.
So how bad was the downswing?
Oh, it was bad. It was a good portion of our bankroll.
Okay. Like 50% or
over 50%.
Wow. Oh, yeah. That's brutal.
Oh, absolutely crushed me.
Yeah. So listen, you guys need to listen. If you think it's not going to happen, it
will happen.
It happens. Yeah.
It was a few times that it was within, even before that.
The swings are just, I guess the swings are so volatile. And emotionally, if you are not prepared to deal with the swings, this just isn't, it's not the life for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it took me a few hard lessons to really learn, hey, you need to be way more vigilant about everything that you have going on. Otherwise, this is going to continue to happen. Mm-hmm. So, but back to what you were saying, the thing that happens, I was playing because you weren't there that day. And I just decided for some reason to just start tossing out money on this side bet because we were getting heat. We were worried about backlogs. We didn't want to be down that far into our bankroll and then also, kind of lose this honeypot. Uh-huh. So I started playing this little side bet randomly because the dealer was like, you should play it. And I was like, fine, I'll play it.
Did you calculate the EV on it?
Yeah and no, not exactly. I knew what I was losing, but not to the 10th degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a basic understanding of
the cost of it.
Right. Of the cost of it. And we just so happened to hit the jackpot.
Oh,
it was a huge jackpot. Around, I guess, should I say the amount?
It's up to you.
It was a mid 5-figure jackpot.
Yeah.
And that was just glorious because we pretty much had a bankroll again.
Yeah.
A decent bankroll again.
So that's not a predictable way to get a bankroll, but man, it happened.
Yeah, we got super lucky. And I guess there is this. I wasn't counting to hit the jackpot, but if I weren't counting, I never would have hit the jackpot because of how it was set up. So you mean that there was a correlation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah.
I guess I can give a little bit of details about it. It was a progressive blackjack jackpot to where if you matched up suits and face cards, you would hit it.
So the suits part doesn't correlate, but the face cards does.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, so I wanted to take a brief pause and break down the actual EV of this side bet. It is an interesting situation where Ltrain knew the cost of the side bet without the jackpot, and it was about, I believe, a 3 or 4% house edge. So like he said, he was playing knowing, first off, it was probably negative EV and a covered bet, and he also knew the cost of the covered bet. If it's $5 and it's a 4% house edge, then it's costing him 20 cents every time he placed the bet. But the interesting thing is he knew there was some correlation, like he said, with 10 value cards, maybe not much, but some. But then with this jackpot, I actually had BJA member Math Prof, so huge shout out to Math Prof for helping me with this math. But we added in the value of the jackpot, and it turns out this side bet was positive EV. It was about $1.10 in positive EV, not much. So again, hitting this side bet was pretty much all luck, but it is fun to know it was a positive EV side bet in the situation. Maybe not why he was playing it. It was more just, hey, I'm going to throw 20 cents away in cover. But, every time he placed that bet, it was worth $1. Just happened to be he hit it for much, much more than that.
Yeah. This is a side bet that we never played.
No,
this is.
But you knew that
sheer luck.
But you knew that there was tens correlated.
Yes, we knew that there were tens
correlated. So not complete luck, but definitely not. Okay, we know our edge and we know the EV.
Right.
It's like I know I'm gambling for cover, or I'm throwing out a cover bet that's costing me money, but it's not a complete throwaway because I'm doing it when there's a surplus of tens.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay. So it might have been even like a break-even cover bet. It's hard to say. I mean,
because it would still pay out. That's the thing is I was still getting paid out on it before. I wasn't losing money on this particular.
It'd be interesting to calculate it and find out.
Yeah.
Find out. Well, maybe we'll have to run it.
We can't even play that.
Well,
I don't even know where that game is. I'm sure they have it somewhere, but obviously.
I don't know.
Interesting.
It's an interesting
We've never
side
seen
bet
it at any place else, and just happened to just kind of throw it out there. I mean, in this particular shoe, within like the first deck and a half, I was at a true 3, and I was like, I'm gonna play it. And it was just one of those crazy shoes. And after like maybe my 3rd or 4th time playing it, it all lined up, and
you hit it.
I hit it. The crazy thing is that like I really had no true celebration. Like you think it'd be one of those things where you just like go nuts.
Yeah.
But I immediately looked at the amount, and I started thinking about, okay, they're going to take this amount out for taxes. I should probably tip this much just to try and like preserve.
Yeah, because you're playing
place.
rated at this place.
Playing rated, not trying to look like a complete a-hole to all the other dealers and maintain, some sort of longevity there. So we went into that. I went into that mode. I didn't even tell her. It was like a total surprise for her. And then the dealer was like, aren't you going to call your wife? I was like, nope. She's like, what? You're not going to tell? I was like, well, obviously, like she's going to find out. I just kind of wanted to be a surprise. So I came home and she's like, why you got that look on your face? I'm like, what?
I mean, I was like in the kitchen doing something. He came around the corner. I'm like, how'd it go? And he's like, it's okay. And then all of a sudden he starts pulling out like stacks of money out of his jeans. I'm like, did you rob someone? Because there's just no way at that point with the bankroll we had that could actually compute to that much money. Yeah. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. It felt like a blessing in disguise because we had been through a lot, like with Blackjack the last year plus. So
then where did things go from there? You had
that was right before COVID.
That was right before COVID. So
where were you at outside of that jackpot? You were still down.
Still down. We were down heavy, like to the point I'm like, I was so hard on myself. Like I'm like, I was absolutely suck at this. Like I've gone to boot camp. I've tested out all the time on the site. Yeah, I've been tested out by a pro.
How many hours had you played, do you think, since you'd been tested out?
Since I've been tested out? Maybe 30, 40. Not that many hours.
Not many hours, yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, so many things can happen in the short term.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really know what could happen. And then jackpot happened. Started to play with it a little bit before everything shut down. And we took like another downtime.
Oh, wow.
So I was really kind of questioning myself. If it weren't for the fact that I tested out a lot on the site and we tested out each other at home, I would have really been like, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, we got this jackpot. This is a huge gift. We're done. But then COVID happened. We had 2 months off. That allowed us to work on the game even more. And then everything opened back up. And from there it was like crazy climb.
Yeah, so all those losses.
Everything eventually turned around. Yeah, it took some time. I mean, I think we went through, as a whole for this year, within that period from winning the jackpot to when things started to really get better, it was about 80 hours of losing from where we were from high to just getting back to where we were from high.
So it took 80 hours to get back to... a new all-time high.
A new all-time high. And then from there, it's been a pretty normal, I shouldn't say normal. It's been a pretty fun, crazy ride.
How many hours have you played this year?
We're at 370 hours.
Okay. And can you share roughly how you've done?
We've done pretty well.
More than just... Well, here's one. I think I said in the forum thing that 6 figures.
Yeah.
And Hitter 78 said 6 figures. I'm assuming mostly other AP plays than counting, with some counting mixed in.
The other AP play would be like hitting a jackpot,
like a negative advantage jackpot. Yeah. But you've won more
Oh, yeah.
outside of the jackpot than you won
way
from
more
the
outside of the jackpot,
Yeah.
and that was purely just from counting.
yeah.
Which was great.
So forget the jackpot.
Yeah.
It's been you've made good money this year outside the jackpot as
Absolutely.
advantage players, mostly card counting.
Yeah. Pretty much purely card counting.
Okay.
We don't
Anything else?
we don't have any other plays that we utilize outside.
I just want to make sure people understand the story, because someone could be listening and say like, oh, you have someone on the podcast because they got lucky and were gambling and hit a jackpot. And also there was someone shared with me a video that I don't want to say who, but another quote unquote expert in advantage play. And someone said like, oh, what about card counting and Blackjack Apprenticeship and that stuff? And he's like, oh, I think I remember Colin saying that the church team won $4 an hour, and basically you can't really make any money with card counting anymore. And the person that said to me, he's like laughing. He's like, I made 6 figures with card counting. And I was like, yeah, the church team made $200 an hour. I think what he was referring to is I gave a talk one time, and what I said was, this is a little tangent, but I'm just going to put it out there. The church team cost every casino in America $3 a day. And my point with that is casinos were freaking out. They were like going to put them out of business. It's like, we cost you less than you spend on coffee for your surveillance team each day. But when you add it up, it's $4 million, So all that to say, there is this thought, like the question, or like this other person is putting out there, card counting isn't viable.
I would totally disagree. I mean, it's very viable. I think the thing is you don't know where in the simulation your game is going to start.
Yeah.
And you may start on a horrible downswing.
Yep.
And that's and if you don't adjust your bankroll, if you're not thinking about how to manage your money, if you're not doing other things to kind of mitigate those risks, you will go bust.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's happened to us.
Even before that, though, before the jackpot, we had built it up.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
there was.
Yeah.
And
So you
then
built
there
it
was-
up and then it
Yes.
Yeah.
We
came back
built it
down.
up to over that amount.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
that's,
just turned
that
around.
can give you an idea of
Yes.
how bad it was.
So that's another good point. You say you could start out on the downswing, but I think another thing to be concerned about, some people start out on the upswing and they don't realize they're still over betting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
that happened to us. You're exactly right. And that's where, really understanding the math behind the risk, understanding Kelly criteria. And I mean, the crappy part for us is really this is all on me. The tools were all there.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really fully invest and have a true understanding of everything that was going on. But, everything's totally different now.
Yeah. So, all right. So we got that established. The jackpot kind of helped rebuild a larger bankroll.
Definitely replace.
And then you've made more outside of that jackpot
Yes.
From straight counting. And I know you have a story about, what happened with that casino?
So with that casino, we were really kind of worried with things after the jackpot. And we wanted to make sure that we preserve this place because they have a pretty good game. So we continued to play there, but we decided to take more of the optimize approach, which really worked out because everyone knew that we had just hit a jackpot.
Yeah.
So it made it easier for us to just go in there and play because they just thought, hey, like these guys just love to gamble.
Yeah.
And the beautiful part about having her around is she was able to talk to everyone, communicate with everyone, and still play. And I was able to talk to everyone and communicate with everyone and still play. And we were just kind of like hiding in plain sight. That's the podcast that you have with JC Rocks 111. Is that his name?
Yep.
Shout out to him. Shout out to every other name. That I listened to that thing maybe like 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
Because we wanted to take that type of approach. And I mean, we got there on a smaller scale. We were able to take another $40,000 from this place.
Yeah.
Just out of straight optimized play.
Yeah. So when you say optimize, you just mean you weren't as aggressive with your bet spread, or were you using a lot of cover plays or cover bets or anything?
We didn't really have to use a lot of cover play. If I knew then what we know now, we would have used more cover play just because it probably would have given us a little more longevity.
What do you mean if you knew then what you know now?
There was, like, as we were playing and making friends and having just the relationships across the table, one of, I don't know if I should say it specifically, but we are currently friends with someone on the other side, and then started to hang out with the dealer.
Yeah.
And then come to find out that her husband worked for gaming and security, and then gaming, and then
he doesn't currently work for gaming.
Sorry,
he didn't work for gaming at that particular point in time, but he had a history of working for gaming.
And then he also had their circle.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like host, security, like a full game of intel that we really could have utilized had we known.
Yeah.
Then.
And found out really how they evaluate. Because that's the thing, there have been a few times where we've had some intel, like, there was a place, I'm sure I've told this story before, but there was a place where we knew that the owner there's a little place here in Seattle, the owner would watch you play. Oh. And so we would not there, but from a camera, run you down or whatever. And so we used more cover than we would in that first hour or two. We would always double tens against tens and aces, and some of those things that are kind of like ultimate gambit type. Like, there's a little bit of a cost. It makes you look like a wild man, but it's very little cost. Right. And so we do some of those things. And I remember a dealer once being like, "Oh, you're cool now. The owners evaluated you and determined you're not an advantage player." And I was like, "Okay, well then I'm not going to use this cover anymore." So you would have known how they evaluated all that.
Yes. And right before that though, we ran into, like, you could tell as times, we're now a year into this, 2 year
into this particular casino. Yeah, we're about a year.
So a few of them are starting to realize what is going on and okay with it, and also gave us a heads up one time. Yeah,
that's actually kind of an interesting story. So this happened the middle of the year. I got backed off from one place, and because the casinos were close, staff would leave one casino and go to another casino for better work opportunities or whatever.
And it was a brand new one.
And so we saw staff that was at another casino, and this place, I maybe got in 10 hours, and then it turned into a back off. And that actually happened before COVID. And then we came back after COVID. They didn't trespass. It was just a back off. Yeah. So went back in, got backed off again. And then they sent out information to this other casino, which was actually kind of like the honeypot.
Yeah.
And so one of the dealers actually came up to me. They actually called me over, like, "Come here." Everyone's wearing masks, so it made it really easy to have conversations without people being able to see what's really going on, that's a great way.
That's interesting.
COVID's helped out. And they actually let me know. They said, "Hey, this place reports you as an AP. Watch out." And fortunately, like your advice of don't back yourself off, we took that advice because we almost did. We were like, "Man, we're done. We don't want to ruin anywhere else."
Didn't we leave that day?
We did. We left
immediately.
Didn't play that day. Yeah. We were trying to figure out, like,
we should ask more questions.
Yeah, definitely should ask more questions. I guess it was more like nerves, kind of freaking out.
Mm-hmm. And she was transitioning between tables. So it was like a really quick conversation. And then he looked at me, he gave me those eyes. I'm like, "Okay, let's go."
Went back the next day, had more of a conversation with this dealer. And she's like, "They don't care."
Oh, wow.
I was like, "What?" And we pointed to a particular pit boss, and she looked at him. She was like, "He really doesn't care."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so we were like, "Okay, well, let's not back ourselves off."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we continued to play. We got in like another 170 hours.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So you could have backed yourself off from 170 hours.
Yeah. This wouldn't. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now had that happened.
Yeah.
We made a lot of money.
Yeah. You said another 40.
Yeah.
K or something like that.
Yep.
Just straight counting.
Yep. Just straight counting. No, I wouldn't really use any cover. Occasionally she would. She'd have a little bit of cover, but I was pretty.
Well,
pretty
because
about
we
the
started
play.
to get information, a little bit of information about maybe you should try this to disguise. And we did. I did.
Yeah,
what kind of cover?
Mainly side bet stuff.
Okay.
And then covering and then putting a bet on the top so they can't see. Because, the information we got was there's just an angle down, only down at this casino.
Yeah.
So, and then just to be careful of different shifts and different pit bosses.
And so how have you calculated how much negative EV all the side bets were? Or?
No, not. I would say I wouldn't encourage other people to take this approach without fully knowing the value of what
how often would it be, like every other hand or
not that frequent?
Yeah.
No, it was just random.
Random.
For me, it was random.
Yeah. I mean,
5 times an hour or something like that.
Probably not even that, to be honest.
Okay. So yeah,
And I think it was with particular, for me, it was
particular dealers.
and pit bosses.
So it was a $5 side bet. And
Yeah.
So maybe you're throwing away a couple bucks an hour. So that's it's just helpful to put it into context so someone doesn't hear this and say, okay, I'm going to play side bets and I'm good, because you could easily
you
lose
can
more.
You can lose your whole edge.
Yeah. Pretty easily on those side bets, depending on how bad of a side bet it is. But even if it's got a 10% edge, house edge, $5, that's 50 cents every time you do it. You can do that. You can do that, a few times an hour. So if you have that kind of intel.
I mean, he's really good. He's really good about keeping track of some of the side bets, and then if we happen to tip, because at this point, I mean, we're at a local place, and I know that tipping is frowned upon at times, but we were, and I think now looking back, we did a good job of preserving.
Yeah.
I mean, they let us play there.
Yeah.
Way past.
Yes.
It got to the point to where like we were trying to figure out like what are we doing? Like why are they continuing to let us play? Like I'd talk to Sassy Red about it, and she was like, what are you doing to and I was like, I don't know. I'm black. Like I really I have no clue.
Do you think that's
No, I don't think so.
I think it could hurt you just as much as it can help.
okay?
Oh yeah,
Because
that's true. But I also think, not to interrupt you, because I know there's that one story, but after talking, now I mean we're really good friends with some of these people.
Yeah,
like we'll see them on this coming Thursday, and they said a little bit. It's just that it's really who's in the cameras.
Yeah,
who's watching, because the pit bosses, and I mean they can make the calls, but they're really not. They're not the ones. They're not getting on the phone unless they don't really know you. But now these people are rooting for us. They're not wanting to make phone calls upstairs.
Yep.
And most of the time, the people upstairs in this particular casino didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And pit bosses didn't either.
No,
that's the crazy thing.
They were clueless. Like we've talked to a couple after the fact, and they were like, "What? Like no way."
Yeah.
And one was like, I will tell them that. I mean, this particular dealer just crushed me in a shoe. I mean, maybe 6K, 7K in a shoe. And she was like, oh, she felt so bad.
Yeah.
I was like, don't worry about it. Like, this happens.
Yeah.
I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
we'll
so
see how it works out.
I think another thing that's worth mentioning is this game had a really good house. Like it's a very good game.
It was a good game.
Right. And that allows a little bit more. It's similar to JC Rocks, where he had this great local game. And I think what sets apart, what you guys have done, what he did, is to really analyze it. Because I think what a lot of people do is they get into card counting, they practice, and they're like, I'm going to go. And, sometimes the best thing they can do is just maximize at their local casinos, get burned out, and move on. Other times, when you have a honeypot, as you called it, like this, with such an exceptional, opportunity, such a great game, that doing that extra homework to say, how do we get the most money out of this? And of course, you never know. Maybe you do get backed off your second day playing there.
Right.
But if you can really optimize it, if you can stretch that out over those couple hundred hours of play, then giving up extra 5% of your EV, even 10% of your EV, is going to be well worth it as a business decision.
That was where I think tipping really kind of
Yeah. Did you calculate kind of how much?
We knew. We gave ourselves a max of what
Tipping
we would
budget?
Yep.
We used to have that on an early team. And then by the time of the church team, it was too complicated to say, here's how much of like our investors' money you guys can tip. So we just made a different rule, which is tip out your own money if it's going to be worth it for you, you know. But before that, it was like, okay, well, we can, you know, tip this. That didn't mean we had to, but we could if we felt like it would be worth it. Because this was when we were playing, 99% of our play was local. So similar situation.
I mean, I think the thing about tipping is that a few of the people knew that what we were doing. So they could easily go back and tell other dealers who had absolutely no idea and hit bosses and say, hey, like, these guys are, because they come from other larger casinos. So some of them knew.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the combination of if you're personable, likable, and not like not tipping, then
because we even heard after, now that we're friends, I was a better tipper and he was more quiet, and they liked playing with me more because he didn't really talk as much as I did, and I tipped better. So that's why I think they were happy collectively as a couple.
Yeah.
So now you're having to take or I don't know if there's anything else you're going to add to that. I mean, it did come to an end.
I mean, I think we could like go on for hours about it. Yeah. It came to an end. I mean, the other thing there that we did if other people want to try to do this, I think that if you are able to form a relationship with people, make sure it's organic. Yeah. You know, don't try to make it look forced. Like you were saying, be likable. And try to just get as much information as you can out of it. I mean, how much money the table makes in a day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's really good. Help you out. Because then you know how much money you should or should not be taking. Yeah. Like it gives you pretty much a win stop.
Yeah, that's really smart. Because I know that pit bosses will freak out if they're going to have a losing day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, but if you know, okay, well, these tables make $10,000 a day. You know, I don't want to go over 5,000 or whatever it might be. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that how they handle their chips. This particular place was extremely anal about their purple chips.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I know I've seen a few things about like if you're playing rated, shoot your rat hole. That was one thing that we got to the point where we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Once our EV and our bet spread climbed up to a certain point, you have wins and losses that are going to yield you purple chips. So we knew that we couldn't pocket them. We had to cash them in. So if we had not cashed them in, it probably would have made it more obvious that we had more of we would have painted a target on our back.
Oh, yeah, they knew. I mean, they knew.
Yeah.
And we've heard, too, that they follow you with surveillance from all the way to the parking lot and get your license plate. So there's no way to hide that purple chips anyway.
Yeah. So monitoring your payouts is a good thing. Monitoring your cash outs is a good thing.
And since then, you've had to kind of take the show on the road a little more or spread it out more?
Yeah. Yeah, we've had to spread the love to other places, I guess you could say. We travel a little bit. Nothing crazy. I guess the other thing that happened this year was I was laid off from my job. So
Because of COVID?
Because of COVID. And fortunately, we had car counting because that really helped us to maintain financially. But that also freed up some time to go full time just for a short period of time.
Sure.
And we got a little bit of travel in, nothing crazy. We were still able to get in some solid hours locally.
Yeah.
But we want to travel a little more.
But I think even the places that we're going now that aren't that far, there's definitely we're not going to get a lot of time.
Okay.
I'll get probably more than he'll get. Because as soon as that happened at that one, the next day he went to play at another one that was connected to 3. Yeah. And the guy was like, you're done. And we've been playing there for years.
We've been playing there for a while.
And he knew the guy that backed him off. Sort of.
You're talking about in your state.
In our state.
Yeah. So maybe a little more travel, like fly somewhere for 3, 4, 5 days.
But I guess the thing is for us was that honeypot, who were they going to tell?
Yeah.
That was the issue. And then when the next day or 2 days later, he went to the other one and the guy's like, sorry, he knew him by first name. And then he asked him a bunch of questions.
That was a back off that really kind of turned into a little further intel because he disclosed a lot. he probably told me too much. Or he let me know what software they used, how long to actually stay at a table.
Software to evaluate your play. But it sounds like, as far as you know, you're not database.
Not database.
So
and he actually told us that.
Which is really good to know that, okay, sometimes these flyers are just local. Yep. Actually, a lot of times the flyers are local, and that could be valuable to know. And then if you do take the show on the road a bit more, to say, okay, well, we're going to try to stay out of the databases by playing unrated or by being strategic about where we play rated, all those things.
Yeah.
Next level.
Now it's like I feel like the real AP work comes in. Shout out to like all the road warriors.
Yeah.
All the BJA074 out there that are crushing it.
Yeah. So any other ways that, this is Snarky Sparky, says, how's the pandemic changed the way you're playing? I mean, that was really interesting that you can kind of have a conversation with the mask on more discreetly, but any other, it sounds like locally people know who you are.
Yeah, but I think it's helped table conditions. There's fewer hands at the table, so that's been a good thing. Get more rounds per hour in.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge help. Being able to really, I guess for me, I may be building a bad habit by doing this, but it's really working out right now. Is like you can really keep a running count and mumble it to yourself if you want to.
Oh yeah, with the mask on.
I just think you're chewing gum or something,
and
or if you can't even see it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want to like kind of like talk yourself through a hand and not have to worry about just using your mental for it, you could do it. I think that's an added benefit.
That's funny. So just Dan wants to know, how has Advantage Play affected you guys' relationship, or the pros and cons of AP married life?
I would say it's brought us a lot closer. I know it's crazy to say that, but I mean, this has been an emotional ride from the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's definitely brought us together.
I mean, it was a totally different way to play in the beginning, and then it turned into.
So it started out as like a married couple that gambled together.
Yeah,
we were gambling.
That went and
it was like a Christmas party that we went to with my parents.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It was a company Christmas party.
That's it. That's the first time.
Oh wow.
Yes, and it's always they have it.
A little casino night. Yeah.
For all their employees, and then we just started playing it. And he's like, "Oh, this is fun. We could do this."
Yeah.
And then it worked. It was like it just worked
Let's
out.
martingale our way to.
Oh my gosh,
it
was great. And then as it started to go the other way, we both were. He's like, "We can't lose. We can't lose that many hands in a row." Now looking back, it's like, oh yes, you can. Even now, he just got killed the other day, and it was like he couldn't win. So I think, and then the support of Sassy Red and just the community has been unreal. Like I don't know where we would be without it.
That's true.
It's interesting. I mean, there are other people where Advantage Play is really bad for their relationship. So it seems like, do you guys have any, AP marriage tips?
Trust is, it's
huge.
Trust is absolutely like number one.
Yeah.
That's probably the thing that really kind of trust, communication, all the normal stuff that you hear, I guess.
Being on the same page with goals, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think looking at it as a positive thing, like we looked at we get to get out together, we get to play together. We can have dinner right before or do something after. For us, especially with COVID, there wasn't a whole lot open, but the casinos. So it really worked out for us, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I think that understanding your partner's personality is probably like one of the biggest things. Like she's extremely frugal.
Yeah.
Like she's like the unicorn. She's beautiful. She's got a good personality. She's frugal with money. Like we don't have to worry about overspending or anything like that.
Yeah.
She's all about like the lifestyle, and it works really well for us.
That's awesome.
So if you have that type of relationship with your spouse, then I think it's awesome and it works.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then I don't think you should do it, to be honest with you. I think there's too many swings in the game. There's too much stress that can put on your personal life. Yeah. To where it wouldn't be worth it if you don't have the Mr. or the Mrs. on board. Yeah, no, that's really good advice. I have some friends, and they're, we were friends long before Advantage Play entered any of our lives, and they've got that similar,
they can work well together. They've got the trust and both have the personality, the weird personality to do advantage play.
Yeah.
I was going to say one other thing. A friend of mine, he would say he wants to have a PhD in understanding his wife.
Yeah.
It's like, gosh, if you're going to be married, like, yeah, really try to understand that, like you were saying. I thought that was really good advice. Like, understand how your spouse or your significant other works. To know them as well as they know themselves in terms of like when they're getting burned out or when they need a break or whatever. Otherwise, you're going to be pushing them against.
And you have to be okay with the fact, like, we can't always be on the road or playing together, even if we're local, because we have obligations at home. I still have a full-time job. I run a business. And so I think being okay with and knowing like, hey, this is a good time to leave him or her or whatever, because then it's like there's a level of respect, because then I still respect the game, and even if it's a terrible swing, I still get it. I know this is just a process. So
unicorn.
So TMJ wants to know what else you bond over besides advantage play. You guys like have other hobbies, or is this the thing you're into right now?
Cigars,
whiskey.
Oh yeah.
Oysters.
What kind of
food.
Whiskey?
Oh my God.
Bourbon
Yes. Well, I mean, we like rye too.
Yeah. What's your favorite bourbon or favorite whiskey?
Favorite bourbon right now is Pinhook.
Oh, I haven't had that.
Oh my God.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Is it local to you guys or
no?
Pinhook.
No,
Okay.
It's Kentucky bourbon. They named it Pinhook because it's how they name horses.
Oh, okay.
So every series has like a horse name on it.
Okay.
It's more like they've done a really good job of branding their whiskey and making it more like a collector's item.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
It's in a wine bottle, which was kind of odd.
Oh yeah.
We had a tasting. We have we go to this place called and oops.
Okay. Well, we'll bleep that out.
We go to a restaurant / bar in our area and have a whiskey locker.
Oh wow.
So
that's cool.
Pay so much a month and we get a free bottle, and that's kind of how this all started, where we were introduced because they have tastings.
That's how we met the dealer with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
surveillance and trial.
She was like, "Oh, you guys! I heard you guys talking about whiskey. We love whiskey too." Because it was not. I mean, I should say, truly, it was not the intent to gain intel. It was
just a conversation.
My gosh, I didn't even think it was going to turn into what it turned into. But anyway, so we do enjoy whiskey together in our locker.
Cool. Well, I cannot share the love of cigars with you guys, but I like whiskey, bourbon. So maybe we'll have some.
Woodinville is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have that at home.
Woodinville whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe have to get some Pinhook and. Cool. So we're running a little bit short on time.
Okay.
Here's a few, Nubs 1981. He had another one. A couple of people were asking kind of about, and we got into this a little bit, but just kind of mistakes you made at the beginning that you could give people some,
Oh my God, there's so many. I feel like our story is more of like what not to do than what to do. Over betting, I think, is like the huge one.
So you mentioned CBCX. I'll just put a plug for, we have our pro betting software. If you're using high-low, then our membership, there's, web-based betting software. And just make sure that you know that you're playing positive EV with low risk and that your long run isn't, insane. Otherwise, you're going to either not make money or hit risk, or it's going to take forever to see the rewards.
I mean, it changed everything.
Yeah, it did.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really did.
Really understanding our bets for just like everything that you just said. Like, having that foundation, truly understanding is what has made everything profitable now.
Yeah.
So I guess the other thing is, if we could do things differently, I would learn more about like table etiquette. I mean, the beauty of bumping into an AP at the table is that that totally changed everything for us.
Yeah.
The bad thing is that you could run into other APs and it may actually be a bad interaction, or you may just end up totally exposing them and yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I had one post. This is like, I guess, one of those things where I posted it on the forum. I'm like, why the hell did I post that? But I bumped into an AP at a table and he got backed off, and it was how they treated him was just horrible.
Oh man.
And as I saw it going on, I saw some kid getting picked on by the last kid that was picked in kickball. And, you know, if I could, I would never do that again. I would not get involved in another 8-piece back off again, because it's too much exposure for both people. But as like a humanitarian, I guess you could say, I felt like I did the right thing.
Yeah. Except when they were backing him off, and then you got into it with that guy. What did that security guy say, or the gaming guy say to you?
He actually let me know that they were looking at our play too, so that he kind of gave me some intel. Yeah. At the same time, but I guess that's kind of a good thing. We turned the negative
watching you too.
Oh wow!
I mean, I heard this like 5 tables away.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on?
So they're just being brutal to this.
They were horrible.
Yeah, I don't normally get involved in things like she's 100% the fighter of the relationship. Not in a bad way. I mean, in all positive ways. So she's more likely to get involved in a situation where someone's being mistreated. I'm more like, if it's inhumane or if it's something that is totally in the wrong, I'll get involved. But I'm not as apt to do that. But this particular situation was pretty bad. And I felt like I had to get involved, and I did. I mean, the fortunate thing about it is it's turned into a pretty decent friendship with me and the other person.
Yeah, right on.
So I guess that's the other thing. You never know what those interactions may turn into.
Well, I'll just tell you guys, if you see me getting backed off at a casino, you can just let me get the brunt of it, and I'll be okay. But that's cool that you did that. You know, in the moment you felt like staying up for them.
God, I was an idiot.
So I actually just thought of something earlier. You said being black. You said could do as much harm as good, or do you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a back off story. So,
well, that's the only thing I got left is I want to hear a couple of back off stories.
Someone actually I just responded to someone's post on the forum about this, where they were trespassed for being the wrong person. So we're at this casino and we're getting in hours, and this place has a really good game. So we're kind of doing some stuff to try and throw them off. I was white rabbiting. And
so for people that don't know, that's a form of cover play that we don't discuss a lot of places, but we definitely talk about at boot camp. So you're using a form of cover bang. You could probably listen to the JC Rocks podcast to get a thorough.
I could shout JC Rocks like all day.
That's awesome.
He helped out a lot.
Yeah, he's a great guy too. Okay, so you're using this kind of cover betting.
Using cover play. I didn't think that I was getting heat for counting at all. Like she picked up on it, and she comes up to me. She was like, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to do something different.
Whoa.
Because she could tell.
Yeah.
Like she saw the pit, you kind of scurrying around, and then security had started to head that way.
The one guy came through. But I mean, there was it's 3 tables in this little area in this high limit room.
Yeah.
There's their high limit bar and then a bunch of high limit slots. And really it was just one pit boss. And there was another table they were playing, one guy was playing pretty hard. So I could just tell she was kind of watching. There's a lot of phone calls. But anyway. But then I don't know, was he security or gaming? Gaming or security?
Gaming and security both.
And then they kind of just walked out, and then I told them yep, we need to like he said, do something different. Something's up. And then
they came back in, and he called me by a name that wasn't my name.
Wow.
We told you back in February that you can't play here anymore.
Wow.
And I looked, and I was like, I wasn't even here in February. I was like, I think you got the wrong guy.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, nope.
Racial profiling?
Yeah, he's like, you got to go. And she saw it and was like, what are you talking about? This isn't him. You haven't even asked for his ID. They pretty much were just doing it because I was black.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. The crappy part about it was I was backed off for not really counting.
So they still backed you off, even though.
And it's way more dramatic than it actually is more dramatic than that, because at this point he's talking to them and he's trying to get to the cashier with his chips, and then I'm talking to them saying, I don't understand you. You have not even asked him for ID.
Yeah.
And I was spending time chatting with the pit boss, just trying to distract her, whatever. And I was nice to her. She was nice to me. And then she kept she was turning her head at this point, looking away. And I'm like, you didn't even ask us who we were. And they sent a host in prior to this and asked him if he was somebody else. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And he said no. So I was fuming because I knew that whoever this other, they said William was black, because, and then he said, well, you two were here in February. And I'm like, thinking,
she's doing the math.
I'm like, no, we weren't here in February. And he's like, yes, you were. And we asked you both to leave. So whoever this guy was, they 86 out of the casino.
Wow.
And I said, why don't you just get his ID and I'll give you mine and we'll be done with the situation. And they said, no, this comes from upstairs. There's nothing we can do. Which didn't make sense to me even more. Why you wouldn't want to ID someone.
Want the ID.
To prove that, yes, you were trespassed. You're not allowed to be here. So then it kind of got a little bit louder. And then, I mean, within reason, and we're walking out, they're walking us out. And then one of the security guys said to me, hey, just go. They're going to call the cops.
He's like, they're going to call the cops.
Wow.
Just leave. And I mean, as things started to escalate, I was like, you know what? This isn't going to go anywhere. I'm just going to cash in the chips and get out of here. They brought up the whole ID thing. And I was like, you know, like, I don't want our names even associated with this, because we could still go back. We could actually go back and play rated if we wanted to. We're going to prove that.
Give it enough time.
Yeah. We're going to prove I'm not this William guy.
Yeah.
But he even said, he goes, you guys can just try to come back. Let's just give it some time. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. We still have to prove who we are because you think he's someone else. It was odd.
Wow.
It was uncomfortable.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I've been mistaken identity at casinos before, you know, too, where they say, hey, you know, are you this person? And it was actually an AP that I knew. But, you know, like, they're like, yeah, nope, I'm not, you know, but they still did.
And I think that would make more sense. But this guy, whoever they're talking about, was not. It was not because he was an AP player. And that was my issue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it didn't have anything to do with
he must have
Blackjack
caused a ruckus or something, him and his girlfriend.
They just saw me and they thought that I was him, and they were like, you're gone.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys have any other good back off stories?
We were chased out of a casino once. That was interesting. This is another reason why, like, having a partner with you that understands everything that's going on with the game, the mechanics, like, really helps out, because she was able to alert me. Again, it was like another situation where she saw everything that was going on. She's like, hey, like, it's time, like, we really need to go. And I was able to get to the mistake that I made was going to the cashier. Shouldn't have gone to the cashier. Should have just left.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And because that gave them time to, like, hey, do you have your ID? No, I don't have my ID. And then as we start to leave, like, 5 or 6 security guards are pretty much giving us the boot out. We know who you are. You're not welcome here anymore. The other situation, I guess, that happened, that wasn't really that dramatic. But
what do you mean they chased you out? Like they followed you all the way to your car? Or?
All the way to the car.
Yeah.
But before this, they were trying to ID us when we were just sitting down somewhere. We played, then we went to sit down to have a drink or something, just to give a break and see if they were gonna. Where we were sitting, we could see the pit. And we're like, let's just take a break and see what they're gonna do. Yeah. And nothing really. But then all of a sudden, somebody came over. I think we lit a couple small little cigar things that we have, and they're trying to ID us. I'm like,
we need your ID because you're smoking.
Not playing, not smoking.
We need your ID because you're drinking.
That's crazy.
It was awkward, but they followed him to the cashier, and then I kind of.
So at that point, you should have just said, nope,
should have walked
don't
out.
have our IDs, we're gonna leave.
Yeah, we should have walked out, but then they kind of just started to escort us, and then we started to move faster. Now we're all going out the front or the door. It was. They were like yelling at us. We have your pictures. We know who you guys are.
Followed us all the way to the car, and then followed us after we left. It was just too much. Wow. Sometimes the back offs are just too much. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. You ask us to leave, and it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's amazing how like upset they can get.
Yeah. Well, there was one that happened locally, and this wasn't even a back off, but it was interesting because she got a good glimpse at security screen. So this particular place, they have a podium in the middle of their pit area.
It was outside of it, actually. So it's outside of it, between slots and
but looks down at the tables.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a place I had previously been backed off from before, but I went in, back counted a table, shoe got really positive, and I'm at max bets for 2 hands, and I get double on one and splits on the other that turned into doubles, and everything worked out. And security starts coming around, and she's in the back, and she's able to see the computer screens, and she's like, they got our pictures. She's like, we need to go.
Yeah.
So she was done at that point. Fortunately, it's a good time to leave. Grab the chips. We're leaving. She's like, they have our pictures and they have the worst angle of me you could ever possibly get.
Well, and this was recent. So when I saw they had for him, like they had a bunch of pictures trying to figure out who he was, and a bunch of course, African Americans. And then for me, it was just me. But interesting is there was no mask on us. So whatever pictures they had were from before.
Oh, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. So they already were on to you guys.
Yeah.
And it was fast. We weren't even in there like 15 minutes.
Yeah, that place, there was a pit boss at that place that actually let me know previously that they were watching, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I thought that was really weird that they would. I mean, we've had a couple instances where the pit bosses of dealers will actually reach out, which is kind of cool. Like, if you get those moments, I think those are really advantageous. You can take advantage of them.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys so much for sharing your story. Anything you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
You got anything else?
What are your goals for 2021?
Try to get in as many hours.
Yeah. While balancing
the home.
Everything else. Yeah.
Network.
Yes.
Network better. Yeah.
Yeah. Networking.
Well, this might help if people hear your
and
story.
And utilize all the tools. I wish we would have had.
Yeah.
Everything we do.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yep.
Just get it, pay whatever.
That goes back to like the things that we regret. It's definitely utilize all the information that you have.
But I think initially going through what we did really helped our emotional being now.
Yeah.
Just being able to have the amount of losses that we had and get through it and still actually be playing for us is huge.
Yeah.
Because I think at one point I was like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. This just forget it.
We understand the downswings of the game more now and are emotionally in tune with it.
Yep.
And I think that's probably that was really the downfall for me, is I was not ready emotionally to deal with the losses.
Yep.
So I played a lot of competitive sports as a kid, and I think when you have that background, like you're used to winning, you know that, if you work hard, you're going to get positive results. And Blackjack just
opposite.
it's you have to be okay with losing the majority of the time.
Yeah.
I think the thing to being a good AP is you have to get really good at losing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And keep firing those bets
and
out
keep firing the bets out there, And if don't flinch. Like, shout out to Spartan.
Yeah, that's right.
For his post on
right.
Flinching.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing your story. I'm excited to hear how 2021 goes. And what was it called? Pinwheel?
Pinhook.
Pinhook. Maybe we'll have some pinhook in 2021 sometime.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that podcast interview. And if you are serious about card counting, but you have not checked our membership, I encourage you to do so. Whether you want to learn and master card counting or whether you're actively playing in the casinos, we've got everything you're going to need to learn and keep up and make money as a card counter. We have a video course and a training suite so you can master every aspect of the game. Or when you're actively playing in casinos, we've got betting software, a forum for networking and getting questions answered, a casino database, members-only podcasts that have interviews with active pros on all sorts of more detailed information you're going to want to know as an AP. And we have our new results tracking software. All of our software works on mobile, so if you're in a casino bathroom, you can pull up bet spreads or enter your results. It works on desktop, laptop, tablet, whatever you're going to need. And if you are a member at Blackjack Apprenticeship, we're going to be sending out a survey very shortly to ask what things you want in 2021, what ways we as the BJA team can do to support you in being a successful card counter and advantage player in the next year. So check your inbox in the next week or so and you'll see that survey. And to everyone, hope you have great holidays and an awesome start to 2021.